As a professional cyclist, I spend upwards of 100 days on the road each year, so I know as well as anybody how hard it is to keep a gym routine, and also when you're traveling, how hard it is to find an exercise center that has everything that you need. So one of the things to focus on is always to be adaptive of your environment, to use your environment, and also to do your research for when you are visiting somewhere before you get there. Moving on to a couple of exercises after my warm-up, I like to do a thing called box jumps, which is a simple plyometrics box jump. You tailor the height to your own ability, but what it's really focusing on is muscle elasticity and trying to keep that sort of snap in the body. And that's something as a cyclist that after 6 hours, sometimes on the bike, we lose that agility that we need to finish a race. And I think it's a good way not only to train the body, but it's a good way to also train the mind to be fresh in working in conjunction with something as scary as actually jumping up onto a box. So the first workout that I do in my free weight section of my workout is squats. So for me, squats, there's really no point in going full range in the squat. I'm not going to a full 90 degrees in the leg angle in the squat. I'm going to just before that. And what that actually symbolizes for me is the 75-degree angle that we have at the bottom of our pedal stroke. So for me, I'm actually not looking for necessarily strength endurance like some people are. I'm looking for power endurance. And that's why you'll see me actually trying to do so many squats in such a short amount of time. And whilst, yes, we do lose a little bit of form, that's one of the sacrifices we give, is that what we're trying to do, as cycling is such a high cadence sport, when we're moving our leg at such a high rate, is we're trying to also simulate that in the gym work that we're doing. The next exercise that I'm doing in the gym is the deadlift. And as you can see, with the deadlift, the proper technique is to sort of start slow as more of a lift, and then you're actually bringing your hips forward and through. And that's the part that we're really focusing on being nice and fast. And the specific nature of that is that at the top of our sprinting motion, we're actually really trying to have that muscle grouping through the glute, as it's the biggest muscle in our body. When we're actually seated, in a seated position, it's actually quite hard to have that muscle grouping. So the deadlift is a very specific and I think almost tailor-made exercise for a professional cyclist who's really trying to put the power down. One of the more interesting exercises in my gym routine is what has been aptly named the hamstring pull, and that's where I've attached my foot to a cable holding weight coming from the ground. And one of the things that I personally think that we miss out on a lot in the gym if we're just focusing on free weights is actually trying to use the hamstring in the pulling motion like we do in the upstroke of a pedal. So we're never trying to leave any muscle groups behind, and we're also never trying to isolate anything too much. So this is actually something that really tries to keep sort of that pelvic floor engaged at the same time as keeping a flat back and really focusing on posture as we do this. So the last exercise in my routine that I really try to focus on actually building power is the single leg press. And the nice thing about the single leg press is that we can really isolate the different sides of our brain and coordination, and we can also see where we might have a difference between the left and the right leg, and this is where we can work on that discrepancy. However, again, just like the squat, we're not going to a full 90-degree angle. In fact, we're even going shorter than the squat. We're really trying to keep the power pushing through our foot, and as we catch the weight, we're also trying to push the VMO to keep a really nice straight line through the leg. So I think that the single leg press is very important. It's not something that people should forget about, because the extra coordination and muscle grouping that we get is one of the best gifts that we can give our form on the bike. So the last exercise that I tend to do in part of my gym workout is one that's not necessarily there to build power, but it's actually to build strength behind the SI joint. So for this, I use a very simple exercise, which is the hip thrust, and that's just putting a weight on your groin, and you put your back onto a workout bench, and all you're doing is you're trying to build a bridge through the back of your spine by bringing your glutes into the ceiling. And what that's really working on is the lumbar erectus spinae, and I find that when this is feeling more coordinated and stronger, I tend to have much less of the issue of my SI joints having pain, which leads to an overall better posture on the bike, and really that's what we're working towards. The best way to see sport is to see it as something that takes a long time to build, and the best bridges weren't built in a day. So that's my advice, is to take your time, never try anything that's going to be potentially dangerous, especially when you're alone, and just to enjoy what you're doing.